Hello, and welcome to this edition of B.E.P Talks, where we bring you extraordinary people from all around the world with very diverse areas of expertise, all of them speaking to their own beliefs, experiences, and passions, all committed to helping you live a better life, have more reliable resources, know that there's always someone there for you to speak with, to learn from, to talk to. Very special guest today. Very special guest. I want everybody to sit back because you are going to learn a ton. I know that to be true because I have learned so much from this man. He just debunked so many myths for me. My very special guest today, and I want to say a very good friend of mine, is Mr. Rusty Bresse. Hi, Rusty.
Thanks, Beth. Hi, good to see you.
Always so good to see you. And I've been so eager for us to have this B.E.P talk today. If ever there is someone that I know who does everything he does based on strong beliefs, powerful and positive experiences, and true passion for what he does and why he does it, it is you. It is you. So I'm so happy and blessed to bring you here on B.E.P Talks today. We could talk about so many things that we know, but what I want to talk about today is your brainchild, a company called SCORE Navigator. And I think in that word itself, it says a whole lot. SCORE referring to one's credit score. Navigator referring to perhaps the journey that someone can navigate from where they are today with their credit score, where they want it to be, hope it could be, and how they actually can take very positive steps to get there. Rusty, this is a conference everybody needs to know about SCORE Navigator.
Well, you did hit it. It deals with scores and with having to navigate. It's really navigating our life too, Beth. I mean, a lot of people, depending on the generation, the way credit's gone on for the years, and I've been dealing with credit and finance since 1981, and so I've seen a lot of trends and changes, and I've taken steps back to take a look at what does it need, what are we always missing, and during that journey myself, I find out it's not just the lack of information. Technology's gotten much better, obviously, but it's really getting to understand yourself and what you do and why you do it and why you get yourself in certain credit and financial situations.
And to that point, when you're talking about managing a credit, let me just say this up front. This is not about credit repair. This is about preparing, not repairing. This is about setting yourself up to have the most positive credit score you can, which what does that do for you? It lowers interest rates. It keeps more money in your pocket, gives you more opportunity to do things. So I know that you say when managing your money truly goes hand in hand with managing your credit score. What do you mean by that?
Well, it goes hand in hand. And so, that's part of the SCORE Navigator journey. Is it's not just a credit report, obviously, and a credit score. It deals with your finances. So, a lot of times people use their cards for emergencies. A lot of times it's because they see something, they want to get it, and they may actually go on and spend more than what their budgeting and financing allows them to do. It's the old Wimpy. I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
Oh, right.
And I grew up with Popeye, so I mean, I didn't understand as a kid what was going on into my head because I didn't always do that. I'm like, okay, well, I got this plastic. Let me just go get this, and being in other industries besides just credit, where people are buying houses and stuff, people payment shop. They don't care the interest rate. They don't care the cost of it. Their mindset is, okay, I can afford a $400 payment. And it doesn't matter if the interest rate is 19% and all they're living in is a 10. They're payment shopping. They don't know how to manage their money to say it's okay to go and just have this. What can I be happy with that I don't have to work 2 jobs, 3 jobs with, and go through that stress and go through it. So managing your money will take the stress off of you if
Sure.
you just do a simple budget. Budget, stay in those perimeters, and then establish credit based on your budget, based upon your money.
I mentioned about debunking some myths, and I'm going to speak personally.
Sure.
Growing up, it was always about you don't want to know what your credit score is. Don't go in there. That's not something that you want to know about. It's just there. It affects you, but the myths were that if you went in and checked it, that your score got lower, or which meant you would be charged more because you were going in, and you're not supposed to meddle with that. That's like a separate file. And what you taught me and what I've experienced is that you very much need to know, can to know at any given moment what your credit score is. And then, as we said, how to navigate it to where you want it to be, need it to be, to bring your interest rates lower, which goes back to what you're saying, then managing your budgets. Listen, I have to tell our viewers that you have, from 2003 to 2006, analyzed more than 1 million credit reports.
Yes, we did that to build a special program. Now we've analyzed over 30 million credit reports.
30 million.
Yeah, since then. And so just from, and over 400 million individual trade lines. So, looking at a Capital One account, looking at this account, what's on here, and doing that analysis versus the whole picture of the report. So where checking your scores, going through companies where it's called a soft pull, it doesn't hurt your score. Going out and applying to get a car to try to get that score, or a house, or financing, or a credit card, it will ding your credit score. So
okay.
you have to pay attention to the perimeters of what's going to be there for that score. And so a score is derived from, it's like a snapshot from that day of everything that's on your credit. The score is just a measurement, because like even with FICO, Beth, there's 54 different scoring algorithms. And so you may go here to apply and get this score, but then somebody else is using something else, and then you're going to get a score there. But what we teach you in that navigation, in that journey, is to police your credit file, to be able to actually look at the data. Because if your data is wrong, and surveys showed that 79% of all credit reports contained errors, I can tell you honestly, with analyzing over 30 million credit reports, unless a person has never ever applied for credit, it's just starting out, 100% of the credit reports that we've reviewed have at least one error.
Wow.
So, and that could be an error that could be detrimental to your score. So one of the things that we did inside of that, because when you find out information, you want to pass it on the best way you can, right?
Sure.
And so, part of what our product involves is we highlight in red where most of those errors occur on that credit file. So when you look at a SCORE Navigator credit report from any one of the 3 bureaus, you're able to see on this trade line, watch your eyes to this, because your balance to high credit ratios have the biggest bang on that credit score than anything else that you have on there. Even if you've had a collection or this or that, if your balances are too high on your credit and your high credit's not being reported correctly, you could lose 30, 40, 50 points off your credit score. But those things are easy to take care of.
So the information that you provide, it's not just knowledge that you know it. You're saying that it's actionable.
It's actually everything on your credit report is actionable, both the positive and the negative credit. And I have a saying that positive credit or lack of positive credit has as much or more impact on a credit score than negative credit does. And so people always focus on the negative. You know, we don't look at what's good with us. We always see what's bad or what we've done bad. And so when a person makes a mistake on their credit, they just fall apart. They feel like, you know, they're the lowest of lowest of lowest. And then they go out and they spend thousands of dollars to these companies to try to make them feel good. And that's a big
mistake.
Yeah.
So we are all able to be in control. Now, when you analyzed over 30 million, my goodness, you created something called the point deduction.
Correct.
Explain that to us.
I will. So that's when we started analyzing the credit data in 2003 to 2006, those million files, I was interested in understanding more of that credit score on a mortgage level. So I had the top 5 mortgage companies in the United States send me credit reports redacted of the credit score. And I had 40 to 50 people working throughout the day, throughout the clock, hand putting those into a program that we built. So that way I had it there, and then I could run it through, and then I could come back and say, you know what, that's probably a 630 score. That one there's probably a 510. That one's that. And we were really, really close on determining the scoring algorithm. So we had that put into play. And then just one day, you know, getting up in the morning, getting ready. I mean, this is crazy, you know, get in the shower. I started seeing all of these other numbers. And I was like, wow, what is this? And the message to me was, stop trying to recreate a score, but find out with these scores from 300 to 850 that there's 550 points in there. How do you determine each one of these credit trade lines accounts, how many points they're losing? And I always kept legal pads and stuff with me all the time, because stuff comes to me. And I just started writing it down, 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 went into the office, set it down with Kenny. And I said, this is what we're going to change it to. And let's see what happens. So what point deductions does, when it analyzes the credit report, it assigns a number from 0 to 100 plus on each one of the credit accounts. This one's costing you 3 points. This one, 12 points. This one's 19 points. And we actually posted on there. And the reason why I did that was because people always wanted to know, I got a 650 score, I've got 6 accounts, how much is the value on each one of them? Well, we never see it on a credit report, do we?
Right.
You've never seen a report that says your Chase account's giving you 78 points. This one's giving you this. That's why you have a 650 or whatever your score is, right? And so nobody knows. And you know why nobody knows? Because nobody wants anybody to know. That's what I've been told. But you know what? They don't know because they don't know. They don't know. You can't get anybody. You can't sit with anybody from any credit reporting agency or anybody that derives a score and sit down with them and show them a credit report and say, why is my score 700? Tell me on each one of them. All they're going to do is say, well, because you paid your bills on time.
Right.
Okay, well, okay. Well, what does that really mean? Because that's not always true either. You can make payments on time every single month, but if your balance to high credit ratios they're in a number where it's going to hurt you, and it's because your high credit's not even being reported correctly, and that happens all the time. You're being penalized when you have your credit pulled. But then you're paying on time, but you're not paying by the report date. You're paying before the due date. And you're not having your credit pulled on the right days. You're having it pulled based upon you going out and saying, I want to go buy this today, and they pull your credit. Now, sometimes you're pretty lucky, you know, and you hit that number. But a lot of times, if you would have waited 3 days or 5 days before, your score would have been at its highest level based on your credit.
Did I just hear you say that there are specific days that if you pay a bill, which is not necessarily what it says due date on your statement,
Right.
And or you go and you want to buy a car, that if you went on a specific day because your credit was reported on another, you have a, did I just hear you say that?
Yes. And so because I understood that by analyzing all of these credit reports, we know what to ask for when we get the credit data in from the credit bureaus. So we were able to build programs that we can provide to each individual consumer. This is not a, if everybody had their credit pulled on the 17th of the month, they're all going to have higher scores. This is based on that individual. So we look and see what's the best day for them to pay. And not only the best day, but instead of paying $30, pay $40. And you can gain back on those point deductions because we list them on the trade lines. You may grab back 12 out of those 15 points. And then we tell them the best day to have their credit pulled. So if they are out shopping, they can do it through the Target Score simulator that does all of that for them. It does all the thinking for them. They don't have to get there with pencil and paper and start writing it down and say, okay, on this account, I need to pay it on the 17th, this one on the 12th, this one on the 3rd, not the due date. Always make sure you pay it before the due date. Don't ever go late, but pay it by the date that we show you and we tell you. They get an alert, says pay it now. We give them a 7-day window. Pay it within these 7 days.
So this is something I want, and again, I understand this because I've experienced this. I want our viewers to know that. This isn't something that you buy in a box and just go home and try to conquer it. This is something that your customers engage with you and you literally coach them through it. Do this on this day. If you have an extra $100, put 50 of it over here, put 20 of it over there. And you say, how long does it take, Rusty, for people to start to see their score going up?
Well, we look at it like within the first 30 to 45 days to session out from month 1 to month 2. 95% of the people who use Score Navigator see a huge increase in their credit score their first 30 to 45 days because they're little easy things to handle. Sometimes when you may have a credit card that's a $500 limit that you owe $300 on, and it may hit you up for a 28-point deduction, depending on how old the account is and so forth. And so sometimes people they got that extra $300 they could put towards that instead of, stuff that we tend to waste money on, and they put it towards it, and then their score can just come up just like that. But just by policing things and paying them on the right days makes a difference. Now, going back to what we had spoke about earlier, yeah, sure, it's going to help you, Beth, with your score, and you start learning how to work your money a little bit better. But that's what changes your behavior. That's what starts changing your mindset. That's when you start getting into that pattern, because then you can go on, because we show them how to set up where they can have their payments automatically drawn out of their account on that date that they have those things that are going on. So it's out of sight, out of mind. It's like, okay, I got to make sure I pay at least the minimum and do it. And if I want to add more, I can go online and I can pay every day. You can pay on an online to one of your credit cards in order to keep lowering the balance down. And so it becomes a pattern, because we want to change the way people, what they're focusing on in the credit stuff, trying to figure it out, spending hours online, listening to every credit expert that's out there, or self-proclaimed credit experts, and they're all saying the same thing, but they're just saying it in their way, and people go, oh, okay, that sounds great, but it's not good information for them. No. They need to act. They need to just follow it and just try it. Just say, hey, look, yeah, let me go to this money simulator, and I got an extra, $400. Let me put that in there and click a button. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. It's telling me all I have to do is pay $30 on my credit card and I'm going to gain back 11 points. I wasn't even going to put that extra money to that. I was going to put it over onto this. But this is what will help me, and it becomes a normal everyday. We brainwash ourselves, and I would rather brainwash myself and take responsibility for my actions, good or bad, than have somebody else take me down a rabbit hole, and then they're not there when I need help to get out of that hole.
Right. They're selling you a product and you're kind of on your, we're hearing so much today. You can't not hear it about artificial intelligence. And it sounds very scary, but this is kind of feeling to me like this is a little bit of that, in the sense that it's all programmed. It's all there. We just have to kind of engage with it and not be afraid of it. Not be afraid of it.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got programs that are in there. We call it the comparison program. And so the comparison program takes your situation with your score, and it matches it up to hundreds of thousands and millions of other reports and scores of people that are in your same category. Then it also shows you how to go 20 points higher, 20 points higher, 20 points higher, 20 points higher, all the way down the road. What do you have? Where are you lacking that the people that may have higher scores, where are you, and how long will it take you to get there? What we found out in that, a lot of it has to do with your credit utilization, which means, again, your balance to high credit ratios. And so the people with higher scores, their balances to high credit are much lower than the ones that are at this score level.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, that's really very logical.
That's why you got to manage your money. That's why you've got to have something that's there that can match it up and then show you how much your residual money is, in order to take that money and then have a way to go, now what do I do with this money? Do we go to a theme park and spend it, or do we put it towards these accounts? And let me see what my score will do by me putting that in there. And it'll tell you, if you put $1,000, 500, it'll show you exactly where your credit score will go in that period of time if you put that money there.
So this sounds like something that you could take the rest of your life learning, trying to understand it. And yet you've done all of this for more than 40 years, I think way before the trend of everything we see now about credit repair, which to me only indicates that so many people have gotten into a situation that now it needs to be fixed. So what we're saying is, don't wait to repair, prepare, and take what Rusty and his company, SCORE Navigator, has done. And it's all there. All you have to do is follow it. And I will tell everybody watching, Rusty knows this about me, I'm not a high-tech person at all. Not at all. It scared me. But I took a couple of the very major thoughts that you shared with me, the suggestions, put that to work. And when you see results, you're encouraged to keep going forward. Now, Rusty, for people who say, I need this, and I mean, who doesn't need it? Who is this not appropriate for? It's appropriate even if you have a good score, just to know more and help manage your money better. How do people engage with you and SCORE Navigator?
Well, they can go to scorenavigator.com. We offer a beginner's program too, Beth, okay? And so we have a program that's set up where there's no credit data. It's for beginners or people that just want to learn and work their way out from any, just to know, because it has the whole financial section and credit education section in there. It does have a credit score, and it has a 25-line summary, but it's a $60 a year product. And so they can go in and they can start there. And then once they go in there, then they can go to a single bureau product or to a 3-bureau product. They can work their way up. So I recommend that a lot for parents, for their kids, on how you can just start, How do you start learning about financing? How do you start learning about budgeting? How do you start knowing what the rules and stuff are? But Score Navigator is set up for that, Beth, but it is also set up for the people who have had problems in the past. People that have problems in the past and they start to reestablish some credit, they still get scared. They still think they need to pay all this money to have somebody send some letters to a credit bureau telling them it doesn't belong to them. Well, it does belong to you, because other than public record information like a bankruptcy or something that shows on a report, everything else has point value. Not everything has a point deduction. So even the negative accounts that are on your credit report from the past, they have value. And then you look at it where the point deductions are, and then a lot of the problem is still that balance to high credit ratio. So you stop paying your Capital One account, 4 years ago. So there's a deduction, but those deductions are also built on the balance to high credit ratio. So if you just ask the credit bureau to verify that balance isn't correct, that balance will change. And when that balance changes, it changes the whole algorithms of the credit report, and your score may go up 9 or 10 points, even though it's still showing negative. So you don't want to have things removed unless you have something to replace it that's better.
That makes sense. Sure.
Yeah, you've got to be able to replace it. So we have different products that are inside a Navigator that they can opt to, and to start building credit again. They can get a secured credit card for $200. And people say, $200? That's nothing. Well, a $200 revolving credit card has as much impact as a $300,000 home loan on value on your credit report. So that will start to raise your score. And then there are programs that we have in there where if they've been paying their utility bills on time, they can get those reported to the Bureau back 36 months of history. So now they've created a new, an established account for the last however long they've had it, that they paid on time, and it will start throwing their scores up.
Wow.
And once they start seeing some of that going on, but then they refrain from getting all excited. So people say too, like, Rusty, why would you tell somebody to get like a $200 or $300 credit card? Well, if they got a $2,000 credit card, chances are they're going to max it out right away. They're going to be excited. I'm back in the game. And they do it. We see that happen. We've seen it happen. So I'm not just making this stuff up. And so we decided that we would talk to people and find out where's that number where they won't get hurt. How can they, if they max out that card, how long will it take them to pay that $200 or $300 off in order to make sure their score is back up there before they go to apply to get credit somewhere else?
This is all making so much sense. And I love that. I love living in logic. So what we're hearing is that it's not something that you don't want to know. It's something that you must know. It's something that there is a way now of knowing. And as we said, taking action on it. That lack of positive information can hurt you more than negative information.
Absolutely.
Somewhere on your report, it's very likely that there's a mistake. And Rusty's going to help you find that. You can find out exactly how and where to get points added back to your score. You can know exactly the day to pay each bill, and it's not necessarily the due date, but don't go past the due date. There's the perfect day to apply for a loan if you're getting a car, going out. And that when you talk about managing, it's about being responsible and accountable, that if you know you're going to buy a car next spring, and you're worried about what that's going to cost you, between now and whenever that is, between now and even you said 30 days, you can see movement, positive movement in your credit score. There's like nothing bad, or there's just nothing even doubtful that even people, it's not about not having money. It's not about not having money. It's about not having enough knowledge to manage it correctly so that it affects your credit score. I've learned so much from you. I learned more today. I always learn from you. And we've put something up here, Rusty, for viewers to go right there. Go
Right.
right to that link. Build your buying power. Spend less on your interest rates. Keep more money available for the joys of life, for your family. Get more use out of the same dollar that you have by paying lower interest rates. Is that a fair thing to say?
It is a fair thing. And Beth, they, I would wish that, and it's not something that I did all the time. I've learned from my mistakes over the years. And so my mistakes may be similar to other people's mistakes. They may be different, but we all wind up, nobody walks through the credit and financial world, unscathed. I haven't seen it. Even the guys that are making hundreds of millions of dollars, I've seen their credit too. This probably, I've seen professional athletes, doctors, people and their credit is shot. And so because they didn't care, they didn't have anybody to tell them, look, you do need to make that $20 payment. Just simple stuff that they would just say, I don't have to do that, because they're buying and getting whatever they want to do. What I would like people to do is to learn through what we offer in there. We have a whole behavioral section. You can pinpoint your personality through it. And then you can say the people that are in this personality are the ones that have the higher scores. And I wonder why. And how do I take what I do and kind of get it into that? Because what I want is, I want people to learn to be happy with what they've accomplished and what they do have, not what their neighbor has, their brother, their cousin, their sister, what they feel like their parents want them to do. Everybody's telling us what we should do and how we should live our life, whether it's TV, radio, friends, whatever. We need to live the life that we want to live and say, this is how I can do it inside of this. I've interviewed so many people over the years that are clients. I'm one of those guys, when I'm on the road, I'll randomly call people that are members of our program in the afternoons, nighttime, and just call them. It freaks them out. But I'm like, I see you've been in here for a while, and I just want to get some input from you. What's going on in your life? Forget about your credit. What do you have going on? Because I've seen how your scores are going up and down. I see things that are going on. I see that, in October, your balances to high credit ratios escalate. But then I see that every 3 years you buy a car in November. And so you're getting a higher interest rate in November because you're doing all of this stuff. What's going on in October? Oh, we got 4 birthdays, we got an anniversary, we try to take a trip. I said, yeah, but then you go and you buy a car the next month and you haven't had time to start working those balances down. And so you've got yourself into a pattern. This is what you do. This is what you've been doing. And your credit shows that. Yeah. Your credit profiles what you do, when you do it, how you do it. So we try to work with that consumer to say, hey, look, either tell everybody, nobody's getting anything this year, or the best time for you to buy a car is January, based upon how we see you paying your balances down over that period of time. And just by that difference of an interest rate, number one, you're going to get more car for less money because you dictate. And then that pattern becomes that way you keep that other pattern in October, but now in January, 3-5 years, you now have established something that's better for you. Wow. So you don't have to figure out how am I going to come up with this extra money and go take a part-time job, and you're not sitting at the dinner table with your children. And that's what your children want. They don't want all of these other things. I'm a father of 6 kids. I know, because I've talked to my kids, because I was that guy that said, I've got to work all these hours. I got to do all this stuff. I got to do all of these things because my kids got to have this and this and this and this. They were missing out on me. Right. They didn't have me at the table every single night. They had me 3 or 4 nights, but they didn't have me every night where we could sit down and I could find out what went on in their day. how did these things happen for you instead of it all being about me, 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 me all the time. And we get caught up in it. We become about me, Beth, with our credit and our finances, because we're the ones trying to get these things.
So it can cost you a whole lot more than just money.
It can cost you your life. Statistics show, it used to be the number one reason for divorce was infidelity, adultery. And so times have changed. So now it's like, I went to the grocery store, I got a bread, I got a milk, I got some fruit, and I had an affair. And now I'm back home again. It's nothing now. But with your credit and finances, that's where people start to get real quiet about it. And one spouse may be spending more than the other. This one's doing this one's doing that. People get sick, they get laid off. Things happen. Life things happen, but then that couple's fighting. And they're going at it. One's now, he doesn't want to come home. He's out drinking. He can't face his failures. He's failing his family. He can't get him the bigger house. He can't get him the nicer car. He can't do any of these things. And then they split up. And then the children then have to go from parent to parent. I just flew out to San Diego with my daughter, my youngest daughter, last week. And one of the things, we had such a great time. But one of the things that hit me, that hurt me, just really hurt me, was when we were getting ready to get on the plane to come back home. And I saw there was a parent with children that were saying goodbye to that child and putting them on a plane so they can go back to the other parent.
Right.
There were 4 sets of kids, different kids. And Rachel was like, wow, those kids get to travel by themselves. I said, those kids are just leaving a parent that had them for part of the summer, and now they're going back to that other parent. And what happens with those children, because now they're in a different school, now they're getting a little bit bullied, and teen suicide has escalated because of what goes on with that child, with their parents, of how their finances and their credit put them in that position. And that in itself hurts me more than anything else. Yeah. That we justify what we do with our credit and our finances, where we say it's for the family. You do it for you. You want that house. Your wife don't want that house. Your wife wants to make sure you're home. Those are the things that are going on in today's society. And so I hope with the message that we put out into SCORE Navigator and these types of conversations that I have, that people will take a step back and say, you know what, I'm doing okay. I've got my health. It can change. It changed for me in 2021. 4 days in the hospital, they told me I was going to die that day. And all my children had to hear that, and that they would never see me again. I couldn't hold them. I couldn't say goodbye to my wife or anybody. And through the grace of God, I'm still here to put my message out and to say, these are the things that are important. And let me worry about what programs that need to be built and put in there, so you don't have to be out searching around and spending your quality time trying to figure out all of this mess, when nobody really knows all of this mess. There's no one person. Beth, 42 years in the credit industry, I don't know it all, but I want to know all I can, and then know what I can and put it to an easy way for somebody else to understand it. You don't have to be a computer genius to understand the credit reports we build. The credit report actually speaks to you. So you can click a button and it will read it to you and tell you what you have to do. And you can click it and click it and click it and click it and click it, and then have trust. And follow those instructions. Those are instructions that have been put together over the last 20 something years, but 40 years of being in the credit industry before there were even credit scoring going on. Point deductions will show you what you have to do. Simulators will show you what you have to do. But read the material that's in there and understand yourself, and then sit down with your family and ask them what they want. You think they care if you have a 750 credit score or not? They don't care. They don't care, and you shouldn't care either, unless you're going to go out to buy something, a major purchase. But make sure that that major purchase is within your perimeter of something that you know that if you missed a week or 2 weeks or a month of work, you're not going to put yourself in a bad position. Make that $15 credit card payment no matter what you have to do, because the impact of a late payment on a credit card is far greater than even missing a car payment. So you gotta really be careful. You have to see what's going on, and then you'll see that your life will be a lot easier.
How wonderful. You know, you said you don't know it all, but I have to say, if there's one individual in the world who knows the most on an individual basis, it's you and your team through SCORE Navigator. And I think it's, for me, I'm going to say it is very comforting to know that you're there and that there are solutions. It's about having the right information. It's about putting it to use for yourself. And for $6 a month, is what Rusty said, you can be on this journey to learn about yourself, learn about your credit score, learn how you can make it better, learn how you make your life and the life of your family better, all by knowing your credit score. And all thanks, I'm going to say, to Rusty Bressie and his team. Just go to this link for $6 a month and start to just... Rusty, thank you for being out there, and thank you for sharing all this incredible information.
Beth, I really
we appreciate you and all that you've done. And I want to say to everybody watching BEP Talks today, Rusty and his team, they are available to you and for you, and will do everything to help you. I think you get that by listening to the sincerity of this man. And as always, it's been a pleasure to introduce you to someone else who can totally impact your life based on his beliefs, his experience, and truly his passions. So to book your talk on BEP Talks, please reach out at beptalks.com. To get back to me, if you need any additional information of how to be in touch with Rusty and his team, just reach back to me at info@beptalks.com. So as I always say to everyone, may your best always be yet to come. And until we talk again, God bless. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.